And now, Jalen and Jacoby on ESPN Radio.
When I pop the trunk, head the deck. Y'all pop the trunk, I pop the hood.
Now act stupid, I'll pop the trunk. Now give me your boom.
He is Jalen versus everybody.
What up, Dow?
I'm David.
And on the cool check-in. Center stage on the mic.
And we putting it on wax. It's the new style.
We're Jalen and Jacoby. What do?
We get the people what they want.
The people got a full slate of NBA games last night, and it was interesting, starting with the Pelicans and the Rockets. All the talk in the offseason were the Rockets challenging the Warriors and the Pelicans keeping Anthony Davis, but the Pelicans looked great. Anthony Davis got buckets. Julius Randle off the bench looked fantastic. Mirotic is hitting threes. It was a full-on effort, team effort, led by Anthony Davis with the Pelicans over the Rockets. What did this one singular game tell you about the Pelicans and the Rockets?
First and foremost, that they're really well coached. And whether he was in Phoenix on Mike D'Antoni's staff, whether he was with the Clippers on Doc Rivers' staff, whether he was with the Golden State Warriors, Alvin Gentry continues to remake his roster and turns this team into something that looks better than we all believe once they start to play basketball. And we know about AD's prowess. We know that he's going to be a real candidate for MVP this year amongst the league leaders in points, rebounds, blocks, and steals. I predict he's going to have a quadruple double in the game this year.
Ooh, that's spicy.
Well, with that being said, let's go deeper into the box score. How they added Mirotic, and all of a sudden they have a stretch four that could make a shot clearly, but also drive it to the hole and finish. Adding Julius Randle, a guy that plays like a bull in the China shop. Those three guys up front really just took it to the Houston Rockets from a physicality standpoint. And it made me realize, other than Clint Capella, they have no bulk down there. And when he goes out of the game, they're not really tall. I'm seeing PJ Tucker, who's a tenacious defender, guarding Anthony Davis. He's just too short of all things. So it's going to be interesting to see how Houston resurrects themselves. I don't think this is going to be their roster for the year, but I'm really impressed with the Pelicans and also how they added Elfrid Payton, who looked like a younger version of Rajon Rondo with the ability to finish above the rim, and he had a triple-double now that he cut his hair.
If you look at their roster, and let's take a look at sort of like what they did last night, they really had a full team performance. You know, we know what Anthony Davis did, but Randall with 25 in just a few minutes, Mirotic with 30, Payton with a triple-double, a very intentional triple-double. We know about those. And Drew Holiday didn't light up the box score, but he did look good out there. It certainly was an encouraging start for the Pelicans. I'm glad you brought up Alvin Gentry because it does feel like he has changed this team over the past couple seasons. He said they wouldn't trade Anthony Davis for Beyonce. I think it's a good decision. I don't know if Beyonce was on the table, but I definitely think it was a good decision. Is there any concern about the Rockets' defense after last night?
Absolutely it is. And we know that they're offensively and analytically driven to be a team that was the first in league history last season to attempt more three-point shots than two-point shots. However, when you lose Trevor Ariza, who played really well, by the way, for Phoenix yesterday, and Bamute, it's a level of toughness, veterans, but also they can play taller. Like Trevor Ariza's 6'7", 6'8".
He's long.
So Bamute is like 6'8", 6'9". So they can guard those bigger body guys up front. And watching Houston, that's going to be an issue defensively all season.
It is, and certainly the addition of Carmelo Anthony did not help them defensively. But he is coming off the bench, and he spoke to reporters after the game about his new role. Let's listen.
Challenging mentally more so than anything. Having to prepare for the game differently. But other than that, it's a challenge all the way around. It's just a matter of how I'm going to react to that challenge.
He used the word challenge like 10 times in the 15 seconds there. He was 3 for 10, didn't play that well. What do you think he means when he keeps talking about how challenging it's going to be?
It's a lot different playing 4 in the Eastern Conference than it is in the West. You saw it a lot last year in OKC, but they just have big, long, athletic guys in OKC that Melo didn't necessarily have to be stuck guarding 4s and 5s. Yesterday against the Pelican, he was playing the 5. Okay? I know they were without Marquise Chris, who's going to give him height and young enthusiasm and athleticism. But even when he's not in the game, even when Capella's not in the game, that is going to be something that they have to address. That's going to be Melo's challenge. Can he guard those bigger guys? Whether it's skill guys that give you points, rebounds, or assists, or whether it's will guys that's just going to give you blocks, rebounds, set screens, and do all of the dirty work.
In the second game on ESPN's doubleheader, great job by you on Countdown, by the way. I enjoyed the suit. In the second game, we had a matchup of two potential Rookie of the Year candidates. It was DeAndre Ayton and the Suns against Luka Doncic and the Mavericks, and Ayton looked great. He looked like exactly what we wanted him to be. He was big, he was finishing, but like one thing that he had 6 assists in the game to go with 18 points and 10 rebounds. What do you think about Ayton's good performance last night?
Watching him play in Phoenix, he reminds me so much of Amari Stoudemire, his body type, a guy that's going to be able to catch lobs, finish at the hoop, but also make a face-up jump shot, perform in the half court, at the elbow, and at the free throw line, but also get out in transition. I liked his activity. I liked the fact that he rebounded well. And I think he and Devin Booker, along with the other cast of young talent that they have, Jackson as well, I think they continue to build towards something in Phoenix.
Devin Booker had 35 points. He was 6 for 6 in the fourth quarter, scored 19 points in the fourth quarter. This man is only 21 years old. It feels like we've been watching him in the NBA for 3 years, but he's only 21 years old. And with Ayton performing, he'll have ups and downs. He's a rookie, but he looked pretty good. He looks like a genuine NBA prospect. This team is something to look at. They've got a really nice young core that I'm excited about. The other side of the ball, you've got the Mavericks. Doncic, look, it's one game. He didn't look great out there, though. He didn't shoot the ball very well. What do you see from Doncic?
I saw a guy that is adjusted to the NBA game. Like, he's been a pro internationally for a really long time. At 19 years of age, he's a lottery pick. It's a new situation, clearly a new team, new role, trying to adjust playing on the ball, off the ball. He and Dennis Smith Jr. are going to be just fine. They were playing without Harrison Barnes. Obviously, Dirk's dealing with an ankle injury that's going to take him some time to heal from. DeAndre Jordan had pretty good activity out there playing inside for the Mavs. I think this team, however, showed that they made some strides, but they still have a ways to go. I don't think that they've cracked the ceiling of what it takes to be a playoff team in that conference.
Yeah, and I think that they know that. I mean, I always believe in Rick Carlisle, and I think if you look at Doncic, he had 16 shots. He was only 5 for 16, but that's what they're going to do this year. They're going to get him shots. They're going to get him and Smith involved, and they're going to develop their core as they move forward. And we're going to move forward to another game that was very intriguing last night. The Spurs in San Antonio hosting the Timberwolves.
Spurs, go!
Jimmy Butler was in the Timberwolves jersey. His first pass was a pass to Andrew Wiggins, who hit a 3. At the end of the game, it got close, but one thing that happened is Karl Anthony Towns did not play that well. Obviously, there's tension between Towns and Butler. Karl Anthony Towns had a disappointing 8 points. He fouled out of the game on that charge. A very close game, too, at the time. Do you think Towns is bothered by Butler being on the team?
He clearly was bothered to the point where, in theory, he referenced the fact that they don't really mesh well out there on the court together. But also, just as a young, talented big who the GMs in the league 2 years ago polled that they would build their team around amongst any other players in the league versus this year where he didn't get any votes, I was disappointed in the guy to give me 8 points and 6 fouls. Like, the way you played against Houston was non-existent. Your name has been dragged through the mud with the Jimmy Butler situation all summer. You get a new maximum extension. I wanted him to come out and have a chip on his shoulder, play with an edge, play with an attitude. And I didn't see that. I think he's going to be able to muster that as the season progresses. But I'm sure he, like I am, was really disappointed in his performance.
I think he's disappointed, and I also think he's disappointed that Jimmy Butler's still on the team. Like, he signed that extension right after he got some sort of guarantee that Jimmy Butler would no longer be on the team, and here he is starting in the starting lineup with Jimmy Butler. You know I love the drama, Jalen. You know I love the drama, so I kind of hope that this drags out for a little while, but I also hope that Karl Anthony Towns picked it up because I felt bad for him. The foul trouble hurt him, so he only played 22 minutes, but if you're that big and that good, making that much money, and under this type of scrutiny from internally and externally, you need to score more than 8 points. Like, you just need to score more than 8 points, whatever it takes. The Knicks had trouble scoring at the start of their game against the Hawks. Jalen, they were 0 for 9 from the field. They did not have a single field goal when this happened. You know they had these little promotions where the fans shoot from half court. This fan shot from half court at the beginning of the first quarter. After that fan shot from half court, the Knicks were on fire. They scored 49 points in the second quarter. That is a franchise record. All those great Knicks teams from the past, way back, never scored 49 points in a quarter. This Knicks team's put up 72 in the half and dominated the Hawks. Is that fan the third or fourth best player on the Knicks?
I think the fan indirectly rejuvenated the team and the audience. As you mentioned, they got off to a slow start. Congratulations to Coach Fizz for getting his first win as their head coach. I'm happy for little brother Tim Hardaway Jr. got a chance to take it to his former squad, the Hawks, who didn't want to pay him the kind of money that the Knicks ended up paying him. And so for that team, it's about building a culture that people are going to be excited to want to come play with Kristaps, want to come play with Kevin Knox in the future. Trey Burke continues to find a way to be productive in the league. Cantor is always going to find ways to get points and rebounds. So that's the key. Can they rejuvenate the Garden so that if the Golden State Warriors win their third championship, Kevin Durant's job is a lot easier winning if he decides to go to the East Coast.
The thing about college football is whether you are Jalen's Michigan Wolverines or any other team, sometimes it's just the harder you work, the further you go. You put in the hours and the reps and the heart at practice and offseason and payday. It all prepares you for game day. Goodyear knows all about this. They know all about the kind of focus and preparation that you need to perform when you need to perform. They put in the hard work to make sure that tires are ready to go when you put them on your vehicle. Because when you're driving on the road, every day is game day. Every turn you make, every time you hit the gas pedal, everything is important, just like a college football game. Every down is important. Every move that Goodyear makes to prepare their tires is important. So when it comes to choosing tires, go to Goodyear.com and let Goodyear help choose what's best to help you go further. Just like Jalen hopes the Michigan Wolverines will go further and then not lose to Michigan State and then lose to Penn State and then lose to Ohio State, which is
not going to be able to do it.
Very much in play. Goodyear.com. Let Goodyear help you choose tires.
As a young boy, Gavin loved playing football. He lived and breathed it, wanted to go pro. Why, he'd spend hours upon hours just practicing his touchdown dances. And one day, while getting fitted for bifocals, he realized he was never much good at throwing, or running, or catching, or even kicking. Yeah, Gavin's chances of playing pro football were looking like fourth and long. Very long. But he did hear how Geico could save him money on car insurance, so he switched and saved. Then he did kind of a touchdown dance. At least he was still good at that.
Jalen Rose, I said that I thought that KD leaving Golden State would be a distraction for the Warriors this season, but I didn't expect it to start like this. Yesterday, this is what Kevin Durant posted on Instagram. 1 down, 81 more. His brother, Tony, said, "Yes, sir, brother, filling the hand up before we get out of here." What? Now, to his credit, Tony went back on IG and said that he meant filling the hand up was winning more championships in Golden State, and out of here meant retirement. What? I'm not buying it. Jalen, why would Kevin Durant's brother post something like this, whether intentionally or unintentionally, that basically means he's going to leave Golden State? Why?
Well, it was clearly unintentional because he had to modify the statement because he realized once he pressed send and it got into the atmosphere, it was going to be something for public consumption. And as you acknowledge, now we need to talk about one of the top 2 players in the game and what's going to happen with his free agency, especially if the Golden State Warriors win their 3rd straight championship. He's in a unique situation, as I've talked about, because on that squad, they have strong leadership. Splash Brothers in the backcourt, Draymond Green up front. Steve Kerr has 8 championship rings as a player and a coach. So they can overcome this level of conversation. And when DeMarcus Cousins comes back, they're going to just clearly be head and shoulders more talented than any team that we've seen in a really long time take the floor together. But ultimately, it just points to everything that we've discussed and I just talked about in the last segment. If they win their 3rd straight championship, it makes it a lot easier for him to head to another situation.
So I just want to get in the mind of Kevin Durant's brother, because let's say that he really did mean that fill up the hand means winning more championships at Golden State beyond this season, and before we get out of here means retirement. It just doesn't make that much sense. Even if that's what you really felt was in your heart when you pushed send on that comment, you have to understand that people are going to take it a certain way. When people are already talking about Kevin Durant leaving the Golden State, why would you say before we get out of here? Before we get out of here doesn't mean retirement. You express that in a different way. Before we get out of here feels like before we leave the Bay Area. Like, this is odd to me. And if you're Kevin Durant, what do you tell your brother after you see this hits the news?
You disappointed that the post happened, but also I'm pretty sure we could chronicle all of the things that he's personally done that we considered were socially awkward moments. So maybe that laundry list is something they look at one another and just charge it to the game. Because they're in a terrific situations where he's won 2 championships and 2 finals MVP, basketball is still going to carry the day. But ultimately, we could clearly see this long-term future is not with the Warriors.
You know what I really want to know, Jalen Rose? You know what I really want to know? I want to know how Kevin Durant's mom reacted. That's what I really want to know, because I love Kevin Durant's mom. She's the real MVP. I want to know when she sees this, when she sees us talking about it and other shows talking about it, what does she tell Kevin Durant's brother? I wish I could be in that phone conversation. Moving on, they have changed the sneaker rules this year in the NBA. So now you can basically wear whatever sneakers you want. We saw Jaylen Brown with one red one and one blue one on the Celtics playing the 76ers. That was weird. But nothing was weirder than this. PJ Tucker, who himself says he spent about $200,000 getting his sneaker game right so he can flex and be the sneaker champ of the league. He wore 4 different pairs of sneakers in one game last night, Jalen Rose. Is he doing too much wearing 4 different pairs in one night?
Absolutely. And this is coming from a guy who clearly needed to value the shoes as his feet started to grow. A lot of times I would be wearing a size 8 when my sneakers were still a size 7, corns on each one of my feet. Value the sneakers so much that once I got to Detroit Southwestern and I discovered something that's actually called basketball shoes, where I would rock another pair of whatever during the day and I would not play in my basketball shoes until I took the court, because they were that very special to me. So for a guy, to be in the league, you have access to so many shoes that it makes this conversation in theory irrelevant. But to change 4 times during one game seems like it's doing too much, because when you break in a shoe, that's the time to rock it. And I don't think 1 quarter is enough to actually get a full wear out of a pair of kicks.
Because I think that he earned the title of sneaker champ of the NBA last year, but I think he knows these new rules are going to push that. He's going to get pressed. So he's like, all right, fine. Instead of wearing 1 fly pair every game, I'm going to wear 4 fly pairs every game. It just seems to be a little bit of overkill, but hey, I don't have the kind of money to blow on sneakers like he does, and God bless him for doing so. In more sneaker news, this I found really interesting, because you and I both care so much about the sneaker game and where it's going and what's happening. Well, Kyle Kuzma has a Nike deal, and he's got 1 year left on the Nike deal, but he signed an endorsement deal with the sneaker reselling app GOAT. And what that means is he's going to have access to old sneakers, and he's going to have access to limited edition sneakers and sort of like non-traditional sneakers, because a lot of times people that are signed to Nike just wear the latest and greatest Nike shoes because that's what Nike wants to sell to children, because that's what's in stores. But he's going to be wearing throwbacks and retros and old sneakers. If you were in the NBA, would you wear older sneakers that might not have the best performance, but no one else on the court is going to wear?
Well, when you're on the court, you definitely want to be fly. It's a part of your uniform. And so basketball players have continued to be at the forefront of fashion as it relates to being trendsetters, and also sneakers play a big part of that. So I like this idea. I think it's a really good look. I have worn throwback sneakers that weren't necessarily the current one, that whatever shoe I was rocking at the time, they wanted me to wear for promotional reasons. It's going to allow him to go deeper into the archives. I'm not mad at it at all. But I bet you one thing, he ain't going to be out there with no Chuck Taylors on, because they don't have that support. So it's a level that you take this to, and he's not gonna cross that line, because your feet clearly are arguably the most important thing on a basketball player.
I'm wondering if one day these sneaker apps, these reselling apps, make enough money where they can pay competitive compensation as the sneaker brands do themselves. So instead of being loyal to one sneaker brand, they could be loyal to a sneaker app and wear Adidas one day and Nike the next, and and like some sort of old school Avias the next day or something like that. That would be really interesting to me, and we'll keep an eye on Kyle Kuzma and see if he re-signs with Nike next year. One basketball player who doesn't always wear the shoes that are from the brand that he's signed to, but he's definitely signed to the brand and committed to it, and that's Lonzo Ball. The Big Baller brand has released these sneakers, his second signature line of shoes. And here's what happened. Remember the first ones that sold for about $500? The second one, now they're selling for about $200. And Jalen, I kind of like their look. For real, I kind of like the way they look. So here's the question. Do you think he'll actually wear his Lonzo 2s?
I think he'll rock them. Again, I've never been upset at the Ball family and their entrepreneurial spirit. I understand that their father LeVar continued to play the role like Bundini Brown played with Muhammad Ali. He see Lonzo isn't the most vocal individual, so in theory he plays his hype man. And also a businessman that's trying to catapult himself into the sneaker business that a handful of shoes in theory have had on lock for a really long time, a competitive space that those individuals clearly are trying to keep him out of. Now, what I will say is the one thing that stands out to me about this report, that it's 60% reduced from 1 year. That's never good. 2, that they would not ship until February 2019.
I love that. If you buy the shoes today, they tell you that they will not ship until late February.
Yeah, like we're right now generation, an instant gratification generation, a microwave one. When we order something, we can get it tomorrow. That's what
I want it.
So it's going to be interesting to see how fans respond to this. But I'm not mad at it at all, and I'm still waiting for LeVar to adopt me.
Here's another thing I'm waiting for. LeVar to say something. LeBron James joined the Lakers. His son is on the Lakers. And all of a sudden, LeVar Ball hasn't said anything about it? Like, what happened? Did Magic Johnson, does he have him hostage in a basement somewhere tied to a chair? Like, what could possibly have silenced the man who just a year ago was unsilenceable? If you remember a year ago during the debut of Lonzo Ball, LeVar was at every game. He was holding little press conference scrums, actually, after the game that the Lakers then had to change their policy to keep cameras away from LeVar. And now that LeBron is on the team and they're having their debut game, LeVar's not to be heard from. What happened behind the scenes to silence LeVar?
LeVar didn't change. He's still outgoing. He's still boisterous. He's still going to be ride or die for his family and going to believe that Lonzo Ball has what it takes to be a future Hall of Fame player. He ain't changed at all. Remember when we talked about those media scrums? That's what's changed. When he put himself into the spotlight, initially he was must-see TV for multiple media outlets. Then all of a sudden, when he was trying to profit off of this, it was a time to muzzle him. And so therefore, people aren't sticking microphones into his face. They don't have him as guest on their shows. They're not featuring his interviews. They're not posting his blog clips, because that dynamic has existed to where it's best if we just kind of ignore him. And so that's what has happened. It's not that he changed at all.
It's interesting, though. It's interesting that just over the course of 1 year, someone can go from this sort of omnipresent figure in sports media to just silenced over the course of a year. You know me, I like conspiracy theories. I think something happened behind the scenes. I think someone paid him, someone got to him, someone gave him an ultimatum. Something happened behind the scenes, and I'm going to get to the bottom of it and launch a Jalen Jacoby investigation. Jalen Rose, the championship series in the American League and the National League got really interesting yesterday. We start in the American League in Houston, where the Red Sox were in town trying to take 2 from the Astros. Early in the game, it was tight when Altuve hit this. Looked like a home run. Looked like it, but bets jumped up. What happened there? It was called fan interference. Jalen, do you think those fans reached over the yellow line? Do you think that was the correct call by the umpire to call Altuve out and punish him and the fans?
Close call, but correct call, especially when you're talking about arguably the best right fielder in the game. My guy,
Say it.
Gotta assume that he's going to find a way to pull that in. And by the way, did you see him display his hose
Yes.
in the game? Throwing out the runner in the second.
Hose.
And so I believe it was the right call, but unfortunately for the fans, like that's a unique spot. Like the adrenaline is flowing, the ball is coming towards you. And so it's really hard to compose yourself and be like, oh, I can't go this extra foot. I can't go this extra inch. And so fans have done a really good job of being more conscious ever since the Bartman situation happened and a situation happened with Derek Jeter with a 12-year-old kid back in the day. And it's really just unfortunate that the play didn't decide it. The call needed to come in and interfere.
If I'm that fan, there's no way that ball's heading toward me in a playoff game and the crowd's roaring and I'm so excited that it's going through my mind like, oh, maybe I should make sure that I don't reach past this invisible wall where the fence is. I'm just so excited that I'm trying to grab the ball and do whatever I can. And it wasn't like the fans intentionally tried to impede Mookie from making the catch. They were just doing what their reflexes told them to do, and I feel bad for them. But the game was tight, and it stayed tight. And it came down to this. The situation you're always imagining when you're 8 years old. Bases loaded. Playoff game. 2 outs. 3-2 counts.
Runners will be off with a crack of the bat with 2 outs. Kimbrel deals. Bregman in the air. Left field. Benintendi dives. And he makes the catch. Oh, what a play. Game saver. Andrew Benintendi.
Jalen Rose, I've seen that play probably 10 times today, and it still gives me chills. Does it give you chills?
Well, it gives you chills because you're a die-easy fan of every team except the Red Sox, and you're happy they're up 3-1. That's really what it is about your personal agenda. It don't give me chills. It was a great
it gives
play
me chills.
by the left fielder to close out the game, and he took a chance because we all know if he misses that ball, they lose the game. So it was a great catch at a big-time moment.
I love it. I love it after the game, he kind of downplayed it too. He's like, well, I knew I was going to catch it, so I just caught it. Like, what's the big deal? I loved it so much. In the NLCS, things were interesting for different reasons. So, the Brewers' starting pitcher, Wade Miley, started the game. Came out on the mound, Dodger Stadium, right in Chavez-Ravine, and he's facing his first pitcher, Cody Bellinger, up 5-pitch walk. What happens next is the manager comes out and then replaces him with the right-handed Brandon Woodruff. So essentially what he did is he forced the Dodgers to start their starting lineup as if they were starting against a left-handed pitcher. Left-handed pitcher pitched against one batter, and then he brought in the righty. I personally love this kind of gamesmanship in strategy. What do you think about that move?
Boss move by their manager, Craig Counsell. And in the era of analytics, you're seeing a lot more pitchers not going 7 innings. You're seeing relief pitchers coming in earlier. You're seeing multiple relief pitchers being used. It's not the standard you give it to an ace and he goes out and try to give you worst case 7, best case clearly 9, and or you turn it over to a closer that has so many different saves throughout a season. The game has just changed. So I like this move when you're going against a talented team like the Dodgers. These are the type of moves you got to try to do in order to put yourself in position to actually win the game.
I agree. I love it so much. I think you'll see this more and more as the years go by. Well, one thing that we always get more and more of is Floyd Mayweather injecting himself into the headlines. Even though he's retired like 3 times, he's always talking about fighting new fighters. And when Conor and Khabib have a big fight and the whole world's attention's on Conor and Khabib, he gets what's next. He's going to fight Khabib. And not only that, when Canelo signs a big contract, now Canelo's talking about fighting Floyd Mayweather. And to just add on top of all of this, he also said that after he fights Khabib, he wants to fight Conor again. Jalen Rose, he's obviously one of the best boxers we've ever seen, but is he one of the best media manipulators we've ever seen?
No, he's one of the best athletes turned moguls that we've ever seen. Self-made in a sport like boxing where they don't have a players union, where each time somebody purchases a ticket, they're coming to watch him perform. And later in his career, I will equivalent it. I want to compare it to something.
What's
a
up?
fellow Michigander, Floyd Mayweather, reminds me of being a former basketball player that every now and then I want to go play some reg ball. I want to go play some leagues. Because
I've seen you get some buckets out there.
I'm pretty good at what I do, but more importantly, it's fun to me and I enjoy it. That's what boxing is to him. So if y'all gonna put me in the ring with Conor McGregor and give me $100 million when he has no chance to win, put me in the ring with Khabib when he has no chance to win in a boxing ring, that's free money. That's like reg ball. That's all
that's
day.
The thing. It's like Conor at least made some sense because Conor McGregor is such a big striker. In your own mind, you could give him a puncher's chance. But Khabib's strength, I mean, he can strike, but his strength is wrestling people. Like, that's his strength. That's what he's good at. That's what he's been doing since he was wrestling bears as a kid. He has no business putting boxing gloves on. I'm not even interested in that fight. However, if Floyd Mayweather was really about boxing and was really about his legacy and was really about making money, he would fight Canelo. But I don't think he wants that problem. I don't think he wants that. Do you think he would ever fight Canelo?
Well, he already fought Canelo. I was at the fight, and he beat him. And at that point of his career, Alvarez looked like a deer in headlights. So he's already taken care of that situation. I don't think at this point of his career, coming out of retirement to try to fight one of the prime guys while they're at the height of their ascension is a smart move. He didn't become Floyd Money Mayweather by making dumb decisions.
Nope.
I feel like Floyd Mayweather just loves to put himself in headlines. I feel like when Phil Mickelson and Tiger Woods do that golfing thing Thanksgiving weekend, he's going to be like, I'll golf them next. I'll fight the winner. Like, he just likes us to talk about him. He always gives us something to talk about.
Yep.
Not everything in the world of sports and pop culture is worth discussing. So we have a segment called Keep It Moving.
We be moving, you know we keep it moving.
If you want to discuss the topic, Jalen Rose, you say hit the brakes. If not, me, you, and Method Man, keep it moving. Are you ready, sir?
Let's get it.
James Harden wore something weird even for James Harden last night to the debut of the season.
I've been accused of doing this, so it's only right if I hit the brakes.
Let's take a look at James Harden arrival. He's wearing, I'm not sure what that is.
I'll tell you.
It's like a silk robe. It looks like I'm going to call it an auntie robe. That's what it looks like. It looks like something my wife would wear around the house, but not outside of the house. What is that, Jalen?
That's the player from the Himalaya. That's my main man, round me round. That's who that is showing up at the game. No doubt about it. That's exactly who James Harden resembled. Also, it wasn't just him. You saw Draymond Green? Did you see Marcus Smart?
Yep.
Again, basketball players understand before the game, during the game, and after the game, those cameras are rolling, okay? And for a league whose logo is a former player, that's the runway, that's the Emmys, that's the Oscars, that's the Tonys, that's the red carpet to showcase their look.
Jalen, are auntie robes the rage right now? Is that what the kids are into? Do I need to start wearing silk robes to the show? Is that what's happening? I mean, look at Marcus Smart. He's got the Versace robe. And then we got Draymond, like you mentioned, just in straight up pajamas? Like, he's in pajamas. Those are pajamas. Do I have to wear pajamas to the show? Is that how you stay hip around here? Do I have to start wearing robes and pajamas? Do I have to look like I just got out of the shower when I do TV now? Is that what's happening?
I can't front. I would rock one of those robes. I would just rock it different.
I kind of like the pajamas on Draymond. I don't think I could pull it off, but I did kind of like the look. I actually did. I can't lie. Moving on. Paul George says he was almost a Laker. Keep it moving or hit the brakes?
Keep it moving. He had his chance to go to L.A.
We keep it moving.
He chose to stay in OKC. And I know the national media think you only can win and have success in L.A. or New York, but OKC is just as good as the Lakers this season.
We'll see about next season. One of the Bears says that he lost 12 pounds in Miami against the Dolphins because he's a, quote, heavy sweater.
I was disappointed in the Bears' performance this past weekend versus the backup quarterback.
The Los Angeles Chargers may not be the Los Angeles Chargers for long.
Hit the brakes.
ESPN's Seth Wickersham was told that during the owners' meeting, the viability of football in Los Angeles was seriously questioned. With the Rams playing well and filling their stadium, the Chargers are having trouble filling their 30,000-seat stadium. They've now changed their revenue projection from $400 million to $150 million. Do you think there's a chance that the Chargers aren't in Los Angeles long?
That's crazy. That's a real haircut right there. But who didn't see this coming? Like, did I miss something here? Like, we talked about this the entire time this move was being discussed, the entire time they were trying to wait for the facility to get ready, and even the time where they put out a really good football team. It's just so many options in Los Angeles for somebody to patronize their dollar, their time, their energy, and their support. They had a good thing going in San Diego. That fan base loved the team. It was a mistake from the beginning to move.
Again, the Rams are probably the best team in the NFC. I will say the best team in the NFC. They're undefeated. And then you've got the Chargers, who look like top 5 team in the AFC. I would definitely put them top 5. They've got 2 good football. It's not the quality of the football that's not bringing people out. It's interest, and it's history, and it's the fan base. It just seems like one team should be in Los Angeles, but definitely not 2 teams. Moving on, Jalen Rose. The richest athlete contract in sports history has been signed. Are you interested?
Hit the brake.
Canelo Alvarez has signed a 11-fight, $365 million. Again, $365 million deal with DAZN. DAZN's parents' company is run by our friend and former colleague, John Skipper. Big shout to John Skipper. Jalen Rose, what do you think about this huge contract that Canelo signed?
This is a game-changing move, especially with HBO getting out of the boxing business. I'm happy for John Skipper. He's done so much for me, you, this program. I appreciate the fact that he's reinventing himself with a major acquisition like this. I hear they're also going to be working with Sugar Ray Leonard, and LZ Grandison is going to be doing some coverage with them as well. So they're making big moves, and this is a really good look for Canelo Alvarez.
It sure is. $365 million is a lot of money. Next, the Bills. You'll never believe this. They're not going to start Nathan Peterman this week, Jalen Rose. Keep it moving or hit the brakes.
Keep it moving, man. We're not talking about the Bills quarterback situation. How's Peterman still getting a check?
Jalen Rose, one of your favorite restaurants has added a new item to the menu. Keep it moving or hit the brakes.
Hit the brakes.
We're not the biggest supporter of the restaurant chain Arby's on this program. Now, willing to give them a chance.
We never had it.
I haven't eaten Arby's that much. I've only had, I don't think I've ever really had it. I'm interested to see what it tastes like. It doesn't look that good, but Jalen, now they've added a duck breast sandwich. Are you excited about a duck breast sandwich from Arby's, Jalen Rose?
No, I'm not excited. I don't eat duck, especially if it's
You don't eat duck
as a sandwich. I'm good.
You don't eat duck. Why?
No, never
Too
tried
cute?
it. Don't plan on it. It's too sophisticated.
Too sophisticated. I like it. Says the man who only eats lobster. Jalen Rose, we've gone through almost the entire show and we haven't spoken about LeBron James. It's crazy. It's crazy. LeBron makes his debut in his short shorts in the Lakers uniform for the first time. How do you expect he's going to perform? How do you expect it to feel? What do you expect from him? What do you expect from the team? They play the Blazers. What do you think is going to happen?
The Blazers have a level of familiarity with one another because they made the playoffs. Their starting backcourt still in tow. Dame Lillard continues to distinguish himself as an all-NBA caliber player. I think C.J. McCollum continues to improve and plays at an all-star level as well. Nurkic is their anchor down low. And they're playing at home, a terrific home crowd.
Jalen, Jalen, I'm sorry. The executives are in my ear, and they need us to talk about LeBron James. I'm sorry. They're in my ear, and they said that was too much Blazers. It's about LeBron James.
I wish he would come out aggressive and understanding that they can't afford to get off to a slow start in a tough Western Conference. But I think he's going to come out and defer and try to fill out his young teammates and see if he can get Ingram and Kuzma going. I think the player, and I'm going to say this into the microphone, that never gets discussed, that's going to be in when games are decided.
I know who you're going to say.
Kentavious Caldwell-Pope.
KCP.
Because he plays defense, he can make an open three, and it don't hurt that he was one of the lead dominoes a couple of years ago to sign to come to Los Angeles that made people like me think that was going to create a harvest that eventually brought LeBron James, which it did. And
I think it's fair to say that KCP got an above market price deal from the Lakers a while ago that raised a couple eyebrows for people that really follow the league. Like, he's Clutch Sports. He got paid how much by who?
And so and the reason why I bring that up, because that means at all times there's going to be somebody, especially late, that's not in the game, whether it's Rondo, Hart, or Ball. There's going to be times when that takes place. Now, how that person responds, and they all are at different points of their career, is going to be remain to be seen. But I think LeBron's going to come out, be dominant, be aggressive. But I predict that the Blazers will still win.
I think LeBron James sort of like he doesn't play an instrument, he holds the baton. You know what I mean? I think that he's good, like you said, he's not going to come out and try to score 40. I think he's going to feel out his teammates. He knows what he can do. He knows what he can get from himself, and so does everybody else and Luke Walton. So I think he's, like you said, he's going to try to get other people going, try to feel what players mesh best with him, what lineups mesh best when he's not in the game, and he'll just ride it out until the end and then take over at the end and beat the Blazers. And I think this is an interesting matchup with them too, because these two teams could be fighting for a playoff position come the end of the year. Like, these games don't feel like they matter, but between these two teams will probably be between the 5th and 8th seed in the Western Conference. And as we know, in that conference, it gets really tight at the end. Do you think that's possible?
I think it's possible. The Warriors obviously have distinguished themselves as the class of this conference, but it's in flux after that. Teams that I like be on Golden State, question marks with Houston. Like, I need to see their next move. I like the toughness and tenacity of Utah. They'll never get talked about. We never talk about how good Joe Ingles is as a basketball player. Donovan Mitchell in his second year. And OKC, the Lakers are in that category with those teams, as well as New Orleans. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out, but I think Portland finds a way to get the win in their first game.
One thing that was really interesting to see how it played out was this dunk attempt by Blake Griffin. Let's just take a look at Blake. Well, this is Boban. He just dunks without even jumping. I mean, that was, we could see that coming from a million miles away. I love it so much. He actually broke the rim. But here's Blake. Blake drives and, he dunked. Wait, did that go in? Oh, I'm sorry, Jalen. What happened to Blake? What happened to Blake?
Normally, if you look at highlights from earlier in his career, when he pulled the ball behind his head, it wasn't underneath his shoulders. It was more between his head and his shoulders. It just showed that he doesn't have the elevation that he used to have, and it was a terrific block by Jared Allen. But Detroit won, and Andre Drummond had 20/20 vision.
Detroit's undefeated right now. They're undefeated basketball team right now. And you know what?
Basketball!
I do have Detroit making the playoffs this year. I really do. I really think they're going to make the playoffs.
What?
Want to give the people an update on something? We had a t-shirt design contest paired up with Creative Allies. We have picked the winning design. I have seen the mock-ups of the t-shirts. Those t-shirts will be sent out to our listeners in just a matter of time. We're not going to disclose exactly what the winning design was. There was a lot of great designs from a lot of great designers. It was a very tough decision for us to make. But we picked a creative and innovative design that we feel expresses not just the sport that we love and the history, but our relationship as well. You'll be able to see that shortly. I've seen some mock-ups and they look good. But I saw something today that surprised me, Jalen Rose.
What's that?
One of our producers, Alex Montilla, was on the video phone call.
Shout out.
And Alex Montilla was wearing something that we've talked about for years. He was wearing a Jalen Jacoby hoodie.
Stop it right now.
He was wearing a Jalen Jacoby hoodie today. He also wore it on Monday. Do you know who doesn't have a Jalen Jacoby hoodie?
Jalen or Jacoby?
Jalen or Jacoby don't have a Jalen or Jacoby hoodie. I didn't even know they existed. Did you know they existed, Jalen?
Of course I didn't know they existed. Or I
did not even know they existed.
I always talk about having hoodies and zip-ups.
So Reggie had one too.
Yep.
Why? I mean, listen, I have a thing where I don't like to wear something with my own name and face on it. You know what I mean? But I wouldn't mind if my wife had one or some of my homeboys, the people closest to me. I bet Mom Dukes would love to wear one with pride. It's starting to get cold here in the Northeast. I can get Mom Dukes one, get my dad and stepmom one. Like, these people want to represent. They can't because I don't even know they exist. They don't give us hoodies.
Nope.
And they love it, too. Alex Montilla, the Michael Jordan of karaoke.
How many times have you gone to see him do karaoke?
I'm going to go do it a couple of times.
How many times have you told him you're going to do it and then not done it?
I've told him I was going to do it maybe 4 or 5 times and did it once.
Okay. What was your song?
I think I did Luther Vandross.
Good for you. I went once and I left shortly thereafter. I'm not
a good teammate.
I'm a great teammate. But you got to look out for yourself first.
See?
And I looked around the room and I said to myself, you know what, Self? You're intoxicated. Time for you to get in a cab and go home. Let's hit the Uber. It's an important life skill. It's a really important life skill. You know? The T-shirts are coming out. Stay tuned for that. And don't forget, if you call 985-80-JALEN, you can leave us a voicemail. If you leave us a voicemail, we'll put it on the program just like this.
What's good, Jalen and Jacoby? This is Ray in Savannah, Georgia, but always repping Louisiana. Shout out to Reg and the whole crew. So have a regional or cultural question. Found myself making a late night snack as I normally do and went to one of my favorites, peanut butter and jelly. But there were only 3 slices of bread, oddly enough, in the loaf. Now, one of them was the end piece. We called it the butt bread. And I grew up normally discarding the butt bread. So I really wanted this sandwich, so I ended up making the sandwich with the butt bread anyway. So that's the question. Regional or cultural, throwing away the butt bread or the end pieces of a loaf of bread. Get back at me.
Ray wants to know. Throwing away the butt bread, cultural or regional. First of all, calling it butt bread, regional.
Yep.
Throwing away the butt bread, Jalen Rose, cultural or regional?
It's definitely cultural. I did it my entire life and still do it to this day.
I don't throw away the butt bread.
True story. What? That's the distinction right there.
Here's what it is
it takes
desperate times cause for desperate measures. I'll eat every single other piece of bread first. But if it's only the 2 pieces of butt bread left, I'm not going to throw it away. Unless I got a backup loaf, which I rarely have. I'm not throwing it away.
Nah, you tie that in a knot and you throw it in the trash and charge it to the game.
No, but see, sometimes I like a multi-grain bread. It kind of has those like seeds and stuff on the outside. And sometimes the butt bread's got some extra flavor, some extra texture.
No, I don't do the ends.
Here's one thing I would never do though. I ain't trying to give my kids the butt bread because they'll complain. You know, you can't make a sandwich for your kids and give them the butt bread. They ain't having that. They ain't having that at all. Thank you so much for the call, Ray.
Shout out
What up, though? Jalen, Jacoby, what up? This is James from Central Florida. Shout out, Reg. I love them beats playing in the background. Love when you play with Food by Common. I got a question about the Orlando Magic. They look good. I just saw the 3 a.m. replay. They beat the Heat. They look good. Jonathan Isaac looks like a young Kevin Durant. Terrence Ross looks pretty good. Steve Clifford kind of has things looking better on defense than I've seen in years. Do the Magic have a chance to make the playoffs? Are the Magic for real? Let me know. Please give the people what they want. Yep. Medicinal.
James, there's a lot I need to talk about there, Mr. Rose. First of all, James on the medicinal, watching the 3 a.m. replay, dog. The 3 a.m. replay.
He just told you why.
Yo, get some rest, James.
That's better than ordering things from infomercials. I've been there.
Get some rest, James. 3
I told you I ordered one of those app things that you put around your waist and press the button.
I know.
Like
we made a
3 or 4
cartoon
in the
about
morning.
it. James, you need to get some rest. He's committed to this. He watched the game once, saw that it was a win, and watched it again.
So, a couple of things. One, like going deeper into the box score, that's why I like that he asked about a team that we don't talk about a lot. Mm-hmm. The best player in the Eastern Conference that nobody talks about, and he didn't even mention him, is Aaron Gordon.
Yeah, he had like 28 points and 20 rebounds last night.
And the one thing that always haunts the guys that have terrific leaping ability is people want to see if they can shoot as well. Mm-hmm. And now that he can make a 3-point shot, it really unlocked his game. I like him a lot.
I like Jonathan Isaac and I like Mo Bamba. He didn't talk about Mo Bamba either. Like, they've got pieces. They've always had trouble. They always feel like they didn't have a point guard for the longest time. It just seems like they haven't really figured out their roster, but they've got pieces. You know, they're not going to make the playoffs, James. I'm sorry. No. They're going to have some good wins, and Aaron Gordon stays healthy. He's going to give you a lot to cheer for and a lot to look forward to. You've got a lot of young players, but they're not even in the conversation. I don't even think they're trying to make the playoffs, to be honest with you. Like, that ain't happening. But it is a team that does not get spoken about by national media at all. Like, at all. And it's odd too, because they have some exciting players, especially some exciting young players. I'm really like one of the young rookies I want to watch the closest is Mo Bamba, because the ceiling is the roof for him. Push the button, Reg.
The ceiling is the roof. Let's make it happen.
The ceiling is the roof. Like, I have no idea what player he's going to turn into, but I'm fascinated to see him develop and to see what he looks like on an NBA basketball team.
The ceiling is the roof. Let's make it happen.
I want to thank Ray in Savannah. I want to thank James in Central Florida.
Shout out
for your calls. Don't forget, if you call 985-80-JALEN, you can leave us voicemails. Give Reg a shout out. He might put it on the show. You never know what Reg is going to pick. I still feel like Reg only listens to about 25% of the voicemails. He always gets mad when I say that. I kind of say it intentionally just to make him mad. We'll be back tomorrow. Why is that, KRS?
We're not done. We're not done. Got to give the people time. Give people what they want.
They my little guys. I love them.
Speaking of the Hobbits, let's talk about LeBron James for a second.